Scrum is a framework for developing and sustaining complex products. It's one of the earlier frameworks. And if we think about the history of the development of agility, back in the 90s, there were a lot of things that were happening that were allowing teams working in the software space to shorten their feedback loops. So we had Crystal, we had extreme programming, which was the main framework at the time. And extreme programming really challenged a lot of team behaviors because it mandated working with another person to deliver something, and the daily meeting, the daily stand-up, and regular feedback from customers, things like that. So in 1995, Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland published a paper at the OOPSLA, Object-Oriented Conference, that described the Scrum framework. Ken then went on to write a book with Mike Beadle, who has unfortunately passed since then, and that was the first documented steps towards describing the Scrum framework. Now, it's interesting that Jeff was a fighter pilot, and as a fighter pilot, he learned OODA loops: observed, orient, decide, and act. And that's what fighter pilots are constantly doing at a very fast basis. Ken was a master mariner. So that meant that he was using very similar observation and response techniques for navigating the seaways in very, very big ships. Now, they were working at different teams delivering software, and they had to try and find out how to get their projects back on track. And that's where they evolved the Scrum framework. They went on to build a clear understanding, and Ken wanted to help other people understand it. And that's where the Certified Scrum Master, CSM, and the whole Scrum Alliance piece took place. In 2009, they collaborated to write the first Scrum Guide, which is the official definition and rules of the game. That's been edited multiple times since then, and the latest version is the 2020 at the time of recording. The Scrum Guide is very simply the rules of the game. The current version of Scrum describes one team that is comprised of 3 accountabilities: your product owner, your developers, the people who build the thing, and a Scrum Master. There are 3 artifacts, each supported by a commitment. The product goal supports the product backlog. The sprint goal supports the sprint backlog, and the definition of done supports the product increment. There are 5 events. Each is a time box, a do not exceed limit to get stuff done. The ruthless focus on Scrum is delivering value. If you don't want to get stuff done, don't use Scrum. And so the time box is a sprint. That means that you have to get something done within that time box. And then it's chunked up. You start off with sprint planning, where you agree the goal, the intent of what you're going to do, and the developers figure out how they're going to meet it. Every day, the developers get together and figure out how they're going towards delivering on that goal. And that's 15 minutes, same place, same time, every day. How are we doing? At the end of the sprint, there is a sprint review where you join with your stakeholders, get feedback on what you've done and what you can do next. And then the team get together to observe what they can do to improve. They can then take that into the next sprint. So Scrum is a framework that uses time as an enabling constraint to get something done, to obtain feedback, to maximize the value delivered for a product in a complex or uncertain domain.